Welcome to the Earn First podcast at Cannes. I'm delighted to be here with Omnicom PR CEO, Chris Foster. How are you, Chris?
Arun, I'm great. It's good to see you. Good to be at Cannes. It's day 4.
You're looking fresh as a daisy.
Man, I feel fresh. Come on, I'm here talking to you. The highlight. It's a highlight.
How has your week been?
The week's been great. Listen, it's as I said, day 4. Very, very busy. I've gotten a few chances to walk the work. I enjoy the work and the creative, and I'm sure we'll talk about that, which has been fun. I think the agency showed up well, and we've taken a couple of awards, which are always good to see.
Yeah.
But no, it's been a great week, good use of time, and I'm really glad I'm here.
So Gold Lion for Golden Ketchum.
Yeah.
Specsavers at the PR Lions.
Yeah, Specsavers.
I know you, as you said, you enjoy the work.
I do love the work.
And you talk about it perhaps a little bit more than people at the top of the business always do. What have you seen from the work this week that has inspired you?
Look, I mean, if I just look at our agencies, right? I thought, again, I liked a lot of the working out of Weber, Golan, and Fleischman, and they got recognized for that, both from shortlist to awards. I think the thing that's been really interesting to me when I think about the work is I feel like the creativity has kind of shifted away a bit from advertising to influence, right? So much of what we do, at Cannes is we celebrate the campaigns of the year are being celebrated, right? But I think the best work that I'm seeing and that we're seeing and even being recognized is the work that sparked conversation, right? The work that shaped culture. It's the work that actually earned media attention and changed behavior. I think some of that best creative today isn't just interrupting culture; it's actually becoming a part of culture.
Yeah.
And I think that's an opportunity. That's where PR shows up well.
Yeah.
So I do think from that perspective, there's a little bit of a shift that I've seen that it's been exciting to watch. And I think it's only gonna, right now, maybe a micro trend. I think you'll see in the next year or two, I think that'll be a real trend for us.
It's quite a significant shift though, if you think about it, especially somewhere like Cannes where, things can be quite manicured. Right. And sometimes you see the campaigns and you kind of think the narrative seems quite controlled. How ready do you think brands are to really let go and become part of culture?
Look, I think so. 2 things I'd say, and then I've said this a few times. I think the brands are ready because they have to be, but I think there's culture doesn't exist in boardrooms and conference rooms,
right?
And you've heard me say this, right? It exists in community. So I think the brands that are going to win and the brands that are more progressive are the ones that are going to be in culture, be a part of it, and interact with it. And what that does, that's a constant feedback loop, right? If you're really in community and interacting, but it also does surrender a level of control.
Yeah.
It does, years ago I talked about, I saw a trend in us trying to co-create content and co-create innovation with our customers in a different way. I think today we're in that, and you have to be. And that I've long gone are the days, when audiences and consumers sit around and wait for, a company to tell them about the latest product. They're going to start to innovate in real time.
They're creating your campaigns
for
you.
Yeah, they're creating a force, and we need to be a part of that. I think that's part of the messy part of the creative process that I think is good. I think it allows, for more of us to interact and play in the creative space. And it's less manicured, which I think it should be. Right? And creative doesn't happen in increments of 15 minutes. And then the beautiful creative objects that get created at the end of it.
Correct. You're right. It's not necessarily a new thing.
Yep.
You and I have been talking about this for years, but I think we're finally actually seeing it really play out.
I think you're right.
On the bigger stages.
Yeah.
As you said, it feels like the creative agenda is shifting towards a public relations view of the world, where it's multiple stakeholders, it's communities, it's listening as much as talking. Does that bring more competition when, you surely there's ad agencies, for example, watching this and thinking, oh, I need to get on this earned media bandwagon?
Listen, look, I think it does bring more competitive edge to the table. And I like competition. So for me, I welcome it. But I think there's something else that's happening, which I like. And it speaks to, I think it does speak to PR. These creative campaigns exist in real world, right? And it's been, I've said to you, like creative reflects the moment in time. And the moment's been heavy. And I think
Yeah.
what I am seeing, however, in a conversation in Cannes is that marketers are becoming more sensitive to geopolitics, to power, to influence, to politics, to other things that impact their world and the ability to market and sell product, which is a space we live in every day in PR. So the conversation is slowly shifting, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's almost as if what I'm seeing is a little bit of a conversation. There are a lot of business discussions happening at Cannes where you're looking at business impact through a lens of creativity, which is really powerful. And I think that's where PR can show up differently. But that's what I'm seeing. And that's some of the conversations I'm trying to drive is for that. We should be focused on business outcomes. We should be focused. And I think creativity is a great lens for us to try to shine a spotlight on that. So I think that's a trend. So yes, will we see more competition from creative shops and ad agencies and media companies? Probably, which is okay. And I think that'll make the market more exciting in the next couple of months and years.
Especially as Earned becomes, even more authoritative in the AI landscape, right?
Yeah.
You can imagine that we will see, earned media practices emerging.
Yeah, I think you will. And here's what I'd say. What I've loved about Earned and Earned Influence, I think that Earned has had a moment. And it really, I've seen this happening over the last couple of years, but I think much more so now. I think AI has increased the value of earned media.
Yeah.
Right. And it's, just sort of beyond just what AI can do from an efficiency and scale standpoint. I mean, I think it is as we're doing our job. So we're talking to the systems that actually drive choice and put options in front of consumers. Right. And I think that's what I think there's much more sensitivity and appreciation for in the creative community. I think we saw that, months ago in PR, but I think we're catching up now as creatives. And it is more prevalent in this Cannes line. I'm hoping you're seeing it as well than I've seen in the past.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think for all those reasons, it's been a good moment for us. And I think it's going to be a very competitive and challenging market moving forward, but that's good.
It's like you said, it's messier.
Yes.
In a way, right?
Yeah.
But also you do see a certain amount of manicured messiness as well, right? But, that's part of the game, no doubt. Interesting that you pointed out, CMOs, for example, talking about geopolitics.
Yeah.
Not something I had perhaps, ever expected to see, but it's here.
I was hopeful. I hope they get there at some point.
It's here. It's happening. How does that impact the other trend that perhaps we're seeing this week, which is the emergence of the CCO?
Well, I think it's directly correlated, right? I mean, I think the CCOs have always thought about geopolitics and politics and influence and power in ways that, because they have to look at the broad landscape of the world. I think, for me, I think for the marketers, it's interesting. I think you look at that traditional marketing funnel, and it all sort of started with awareness. I think now it starts with market access. Right. You need to have license to market products in countries and regions and geographies. And that oftentimes is at risk given politics and geopolitics.
Yeah.
And I think, that's why I make the comment, these campaigns and these brands exist in real world, right? Not necessarily in boardrooms.
Yeah.
And you then have to be more sensitive to trade policy, to certain geopolitical conflicts, to whether or not my brand is allowed to sell product, in a particular country or region. I think that's becoming much more of a sensitivity for marketers. And that's why I think CCOs are here.
Yeah.
I think I'm seeing more CCOs in Cannes this year than ever before. Yeah. And I think we're going to continue to see that increase. And I love that. That's where I said, there's a little bit of an undercurrent of Cannes almost being a little bit of a business summit in addition to a creative festival.
Well, I feel like it's not a bubble. It's less of a bubble now, Cannes. And the heat is a good example of that, right? But that's an example of climate is intruding.
There you go, bringing up climate change.
It's intruding, and that kind of discomfort is, I think, it's real. Symptom.
Yeah,
it's real.
I think we should surrender to the messiness. I think because we're still learning, right? And it should be messy. It shouldn't be perfect. I mean, as you've heard me say, you've seen, I'm a learning CEO.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. I want to learn every day.
Yeah.
And I think if creativity is a lens that changes my thinking, that allows me to practice with more precision, then I'm okay with that. If it allows me to sit with creatives and buyers and political strategists and try to solve a problem, interrogate a problem differently, I'm all in.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we're trying to diagnose a problem. And then I think once we could diagnose it, we can solve it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned, CCOs much more prominent this year. I think we're all seeing that maybe, more central to the conversations. You've seen a lot of CCOs and you've seen generations.
I have.
How encouraged are you by what you're seeing in terms of CCOs moving into the C-suite? There still seem to be some challenges, but do you feel like their time has come?
I think the time has come. I think we should continue to run to it, right? And I think what is driving it is, I think, reputation readiness and reputation strategy is no longer, an afterthought. It's no longer something that's completely reactive. And, reputation is the job of everyone in an organization, it's a team sport.
Yeah.
Right. And I think now the more that CEOs recognize that and boards recognize that, it's absolutely elevated, to the front of the house and, as far as those important tools in a CEO and board's toolbox. I think we need more CCOs, though, who are going to run and take advantage of that. But also then have the perspective, a total global perspective of not just the enterprise in which they're supporting, but what does that mean in the context of X conflict or Y conflict or what policies coming out of the EU? I think that's where we have to.
Yeah.
And in that regard, CCOs need, like a national security council in their hip pocket. Right, so that they can actually stay current on those issues, right?
And foreign policy.
They do, experts and the like, which I think we're becoming more sensitive to. So, but no, I think it's a great moment for CCOs. I hope they see it and feel it, and I don't think it's going to back away from that.
No, it's not. It's not necessarily easy, though. It becomes a very complex job.
Yes.
I mean, I think it always was, but I think now it's recognized as such. And you do kind of wonder, are they ready for this moment? Will they be able to maintain and sustain? Because from what I see sometimes, a lot of the CCOs that have been elevated and that are most powerful, it's more about the individual than the institution.
I agree with that.
Right. And how do you think that kind of changes this conversation?
Yeah. Look, I think it's challenging for two reasons. I'll go to the individual second. One is, for such a long period of time, given the role that PR had played in organizations, it was all about press releases, right, and fact sheets. Sadly, right, and I think that was a tragedy. So we're also having to change and as reputation and reputation strategy becomes more important. And we're seeing like earned having a moment. Right? We have to balance the moment that's earned having to drive earned influence, but also show the expanded capability that communications has and CCOs should have in organizations. So I think there's a little bit of education has to go along with that as well, which is why the individuals become more important.
Yeah.
Right. If you have an incredibly alert, dexterous CCO who can speak to the enterprise-wide strategy, understands the role that marketing plays in the communications mix, is skillful and adroit on foreign policy, then I think they're absolutely would have earned a seat at the CEO or board table and will use it for good. If you're lacking in some of those, it's just going to be harder for you to be able to defend and reposition the capability. I think we'll get there, but I think we have to be really, alert and honest with ourselves about what it means to be at the C-suite, what CEOs and boards are paying attention to, and then the role that we play as communicators to shape environments, to shape policy. These very policies allow for products to move, for us to engage consumers, for us to create and be a part of culture. I think that's what's exciting.
Yeah, I mean,
but we're not all ready for that yet.
No, we're not.
I get excited about it, but I am.
For many CCOs, I do think it is quite a shift as well, right?
Big shift.
Like you said, and it is a tragedy that, the comms function was perhaps the press release factory for a long time, but that's just not enough anymore. I mean, it never was.
Yeah, and that's why I think that's why I made the comment, at some point. I think, one of the good trends that I've seen here is that, PR is no longer that last mile.
Yeah.
we're often the starting point when you think about creativity these days, which is where we should be.
Yeah.
Right. Because if you think about the story, and the story is a strategy, which you and I talked about a lot. We talked about that in India.
Yeah.
Right. We belong at the early part of the creative funnel. And then we have a presence throughout. And I think that's going to be exciting.
Okay.
And that's what I'm starting to see a little bit more of, which is cool.
You've mentioned foreign policy and local markets a few times already. Is the era of the kind of, one size fits all corporate brand narrative, which we've all grown up with, that kind of multinational message, which has really powered so many of these huge companies. Is that coming to an end?
I don't think it's coming to an end. I think you still need the discipline of sort of a core set of corporate enterprise-wide messages that benefit the enterprise. I think the proof points will change, right? How it comes to life will change. And that's where we have the geographic latitude, right? The cultural latitude we'll need. If something may translate differently in France than it would in Amsterdam, than it would in the US, but it still ladders up to a very core strategic set of enterprise-wide messages. But I think we need to give ourselves the freedom within the proof points. And I do think, when you get the structure, there actually is freedom in structure. Right. Because you kind of know what the boundaries are, and you know where the latitude is. So I want to keep that core message track. I think that's important, and and as guardians of reputation, that's our job as CCOs and comms people to protect. But I think where we have so much elasticity, it's absolutely going to be proof points.
Absolutely.
And we should lean into, and I don't see us doing that.
Yeah, no, I agree, because it's difficult. It's hard. It's like you said, it's messy.
Yes.
It requires a certain amount of letting go, but not letting go too much, and
nuance.
And nuance.
Enterprise nuance. And it's, I think we're ready for the messy to some extent as CCOs and comms folks, but I don't know that the enterprises yet are ready for the messy.
Well, they should be. I'm sure they have people who are, right? You can't centralize it all from HQ.
No.
I think that's
you can't.
The lesson. And on that note, let's talk about Omnicom PR.
Oh, gosh.
The biggest
it only
story of the
took 12 minutes to get to... No, I'm kidding. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
Biggest story, I guess, of the year in the industry still is, the changes, the rebirth in a way of some of these firms.
I think for sure.
Omnicom PR, you're 7 months in.
7 months in.
Okay. What have you learned from this whole, the process? You've brought agencies together.
Yep.
How are you feeling about it, and what have you learned?
Oh, those are like 4 questions in one.
Yeah.
Arun. But let me just start with the last one. How do I feel? I feel very good about it. I feel I'm quite bullish on where we're headed as a capability within Omnicom. And I'm really, really pleased with the performance of all the agencies. And I think our ability to focus in the midst of a lot of integration that's had to happen. And that was my biggest concern. I didn't want integration to be a distraction. So we leaned very hard and tried to focus on client delivery. And I had a client here and can say to me, Chris, I haven't felt anything different. Like, when am I going to feel something different? And I said, that's exactly the point, right? I mean, if we're doing great work, you're getting what you need. I don't necessarily need you to be looking for something different yet, right? But so that was a good thing. But I did explain what's coming. So in that regard, I feel pretty good about where we're today. We had a lot of hard stuff to get through, and I'm really proud of the teams, the leadership teams, for what they've done and how they've focused and how they've motivated and energized their teams. But change is hard. Arun, I mean, and it's been a challenging last 6 or 7 months for teams and for leadership teams. And right now, it's because we've gotten so much of, I think, some of the harder stuff out of the way. Now our ability to focus really into like people, our staff, the employee value proposition, lean into now how I get an expanded set of capabilities to our clients so they can really see and experience the full breadth of where we're headed at OPR, I think that's what's next. And I'm excited about that, right? Because I think there's a lot we have. What's exciting about the portfolio is we truly do have end-to-end. I think it's really hard for one agency to deliver everything.
Do you think the agencies can be too big?
Yeah, well, I'll answer that next, right? But and I did comment on that. But I think when you think about a network like ours, I can deliver. We have earned, we have creative, we have public affairs and policy, corporate advisory, we have change management, we have transformation. So across the network, we can give our clients what they need. And to be able to seamlessly tap into that, I think is good. What we want to also make, we don't have, three, we're not building three large agencies that all do the same thing, right? Each of them has their unique culture and heritage and way to approach the market and things that they're going to be leaning into more of moving forward, which I think is going to be good for them. And then relative to size, I mean, look, I think the agencies are right now are at the right size. I think they're at the size to be nimble, to still be learning organizations. What I like about where all of my CEOs across not just the PR agency, but even in the public affairs space, they're really leaning into creativity. They're still curious. They're learning. We're really looking hard at the operating models and business models to make sure they're future ready. All right. We've got a lot of operating models that have worked for the past 20 or 30 years, and we have to challenge those and pressure test those a bit, which we do have that incubator with an OPR to do that because we have such a variety of agencies present. So that's what you'll see a little bit of next. And we do that, sometimes we do that in a conference room to imagine, but oftentimes that's with clients. Right. So you can really think about what the model needs to be for client X or Y moving forward and how we build that together, which I'm excited about.
All right. And it's interesting because you've mentioned, the importance of learning.
Yes.
As a leader, there's a lot of disruption in the market. There's a lot of change. What do you look for from your CEOs?
I'll answer that. Then I want to tell you what I've learned because I've learned a little bit. Look, I look for a lot, and as my CEOs would probably tell you, and they remind me of often. Look, I'm looking for CEOs that are triple threats. Right. The first is I need them to be able to lead and inspire teams, which is harder to do in an environment that's moving so quickly where there's uncertainty and a lot of things are happening to them. But that's first and foremost. If you can't lead, inspire a team, you're going to struggle, I think, in this environment to be a leader. The second is you've got to be able to advise clients. Right? I don't really want CEOs who want to retire into the position and role. That's where harder work starts. But you have to stay close to the work. You have to be engaged with clients. You have to work in the messy. That just allows you to be a much more effective leader when they're close to the work. And then they have to be able to manage their way around a P&L. At the end of the day, we make commitments to shareholders, and we have to honor those commitments. And I need CEOs to partner with me to do that. So that's broadly what I expect from them. And I think, I'm pleased with the cadre we have now. And I think they're all sort of rising to the occasions and stepping up to that, which I'm excited about. Relative to what I've learned, and it's crazy because back in, once we announced the close of the acquisition, I talked about what I learned from a prior merger. I said, I'm going to stay ahead of this. And it was comms, communications. What I've picked up is there is so much more desire and need for me to communicate more about the strategy, more about what's in my head, more about what I've learned, more what I'm seeing, more about what's coming next than I have done. And I think that I get that feedback a lot from staff. I spent a lot of time on clients, but in the last maybe 2-3 months, I've done more on the road with staff. And listen, at this point, it's sort of my message to deliver. Right. And they kind of want to hear from me what I'm seeing and what I'm learning. And that's been good to be reminded of. And it's been fun to be in market with staff and clients, being able to tell the story and learn and get feedback. No one is ever shy to give me feedback, right? Good or bad. And I take it. Right. But that's a learning. I think I probably needed to do more direct communication with my staff instead of working through surrogates in that regard. And then I think we've got when we're pivoting to it now, it's not an oversight, but the learning is we've got to get quickly to the EVP, right? That employee value proposition. Because I feel like employees may feel like a lot's happening to them and has happened to them. But it's when you see the magic around 3 agencies coming together around one brief, right? And it's that week or 2 leading up to a presentation. We've done that a few times. And people say, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing. We never would have had this experience had I not had a chance to work with X or Y." And I think that's been great to see more of that and capturing that and scaling that so people see it and clients see it.
It's very interesting to hear that, actually, because I do think sometimes in these mergers and often the bigger the company, the harder it is.
It
And
does
you know,
get
they
harder.
don't- in our world, they don't get much bigger than this. This
Yeah,
is this is the biggest.
This is the
that we've
biggest.
seen. It's not a merger, obviously, it's an acquisition. But
Yes, thank you.
one of the things that's often overlooked or deprioritized is that communications piece, which seems insane, right? In our
It's
sector.
incredible, yeah. And I talked about it early, and I thought I was doing more of it.
Mm.
But even it's like times 3. I need to do more. And what it needs to be, which is interesting, it's human to human. And I've got to be in. I was so energized about 2 or 3 months ago. About 2 months ago, I was in spent time in Asia and did a town hall from Singapore, and we had over 100 folks in the room, and that was just energized, and they just got it. I think over the time that trip, sort of light bulbs went off. All right, I know what this guy's trying to do. I understand what Omnicom is trying to do now. I didn't really get it, connect the dots, but now I see it. Similarly, I did something similar in Germany and in the UK. So I think that's where I've got to make it more tangible, faster. And no one's going to ever give me a break. We are only 7 months in, right? It's a marathon, not a sprint. But I get it. And message delivered. I hear it, and we'll do more of it.
I mean, you are in the messiness yourself.
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
So what's the strategy, or what's the thinking in terms of, how will Omnicom PR show up everywhere? Is it always going to be individual brands, or will it sometimes be Omnicom PR? Or does it just depend on the condition and the market?
Yeah, look, as I said, the brands are important.
They are.
Right. And I think, people join the brands and clients hire the brands. And they exist. We've got to find ways, as you know, right? You have these conversations to run the business more efficiently, which I think our size and scale as an OPR network allows us to do. But more and more, we're being asked, certainly at the enterprise level, for enterprise-wide pitches to show up as OPR.
Right.
Because it's not, as I said earlier, it's not like one agency can't do it all. So I'll need to put one of my large PR firms with, as Ms. Lansky, or one of, a Mercury or United Minds, and that creates the magic, right? Or a Current. So I think that's where I think the size and scale works. Right now, though, we're going to lean into both OPR and Omnicom, but the agencies as well, and the agencies as well.
It's a good reminder, isn't it? So much of the attention has been focused on the big networks.
Yeah.
You've got some significant specialist expertise.
Great
within
specialist
OPR.
expertise. Yeah.
Okay.
I just called out a few. Now, if I don't call the others out, they're going to get angry with me. So Current and, others. But yeah.
Okay. Well, Chris, enjoy the messiness.
I
Thank
appreciate
you so
it.
much.
Arun, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Good to see you. Enjoy the rest of con.
Big thank you to Chris Foster, to Omnicom PR, and of course to our production partners at Real Films. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.